have on occasion picked up bows at garage sales or wherever, and yeah, if I see something, if it's 25, 30 bucks, 50 bucks maybe, I'll buy it up and keep it for later. Now this one here, I think I paid $25 for it, and it's quite nice. It's old, but it's quite a nice old recurve. Very powerful. Feels like a lot of it's definitely hard to string. But when I purchased it, it did not come with a string, so I need to be able to build a string for a traditional recurve bow. So so I've got my string making jig there. That's that funny looking thing there, the aluminium on top of the wood. That's my string jig, and you'll see how to use that in a minute. And first thing you need to do is to work out what size string you actually need. Now, what I've done in the past, I'll actually make a temporary string, probably out of paracord or something like that, something that doesn't stretch. And so I'll make a temporary string, work out the right size, and then I'll put that on my jig, and then that's how I do it. And that's probably still how I keep doing it with my the bows I make myself. But bows that have been manufactured, most of them have. I'm going to try and make sure this gets on the video. So I'm trying to find out what my string length is. How long do I need to make my string? Now, I don't know if you can see that. You should be able to. So it's got some number at the top, KD6125, and then it says AMO 58 inch. Alright, and that's pretty important. That's the length of the bow in a unstrung position, and then it has the the 50 pounds underneath it. So yeah, that tells me what I need to know to build a string for this bow. And most of the bows I've seen actually have that written on it. Sometimes it'll say AMO, sometimes it'll just say 58, but to get the string, I have to, to get the actual string size, I need to take off. Now this is varied a little bit from what I've been reading, but your, put that down there, your actual AMO length, which is written on the side of the bow sometimes, is 3 to 4 inches longer than what your string length is, and it varies a little bit with the bow. So what you have to do, I've got this one here says 58. I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to try making a little bit, I don't want too short of a string on this bow because it feels like it's got a lot of power already. So I'm going to go with an ammo length minus 3, so 58 minus 3 equals 55. Alright, so I'm going to make a string length of 55 inches. If that doesn't work, I'll build another one of 54 inches, but I think 55 is going to be fine. Now, if at some point you pick up a bow and for whatever reason, either you built it yourself or you just managed to pick one up that doesn't have any length on it, you can actually get So I'm going to run see how close this is to what it says on the thing. I'm going to run the measuring tape from here all the way down. $7.58. Alright, so I guess that's 59. Alright, that's close enough for my work. So on the side of the bow it said a 58 AMO. Now I'm reading a 59 inches unstrung. So anyway, a little bit of discrepancy, but it shouldn't make any difference for my string making. Okay, on to the string making. Okay, just a couple of things before I get to making the string. A little bit of information has come to light. So the AMO stands for Archery Manufacturers Organization. So that's what the AMO number, so they kind of tried to standardize how bows and I guess arrows probably as well were measured. And that's what the AMO stands for. Now, there was some information I just researched on the internet. It said the string is either 4 or 3 inches shorter than the AMO length. Now, so it could be for my 58 inch, according to the bow, 58, it could be a 55 or a 54. I did see some information that said take off 4 inches for a recurve, take off 3 inches for a long bow. Now I'm going to just take off 3 inches simply because I want to err on the side of safety, and I don't want to overstress this bow straight off the bat. You know, it's something cheap I picked up at a garage sale, so I'm just going to take it easy. If I want to make another string later on, I'll do that. So I kind of crossed that out. I was thinking of doing it, but now I'm going to go with the string length of 55 inches. That's what I'm going to do. So I've got my jig set up. So I've got one end there, the other end here. I've got those adjusted those ends so that they're 55 inches apart, and then in the middle, I wonder if I can zoom while this is still recording. Oh yeah, that worked. Okay, so in the middle I've got it marked at 27.5, which is half the 55, and then I've got a couple of other marks which gives me 2 inches either side of the center line, and that's going to be for my knocking protection, my loop, my knocking protection at the end of the bows, so at the ends of the bow. So that's already marked there, and you'll see how that's made very shortly. The type of material I'm going to be using. Now, when I bought this, I'm sure I was looking for, I don't know if you can see that, 100% polyester for the traditional Archer. I'm pretty sure I was looking for Dacron, and somehow I ended up with this, but apparently this works just as well or better. Now, what you're looking for in a bowstring is something that is, of course, very strong, but you also do not want it to stretch. That's why Dacron was a good traditional bowstring. There's a lot of other traditional bowstrings that could be used. Sinew was one that was very popular, and that's one I've used before. but it's very, very prone to moisture. And there's other natural fibers, probably hemp would be a good one, that maybe they have to be made thicker than what is ideal, but they're not as susceptible to change and damage with moisture. So anyway, so there's natural fibers, there's traditional fibers, and what I've got at the moment is polyester. Wish I had Dacron. Something else, this is for the prepper. If you want to use it's paracord, so you can actually use paracord and it will make a very good bowstring. Honestly, I don't know what it's made of, but paracord is very strong, very thin. You wrap enough, when you see how this is done, you wrap enough lengths of paracord around, and you will be able to make a very good bowstring out of paracord. Alright, that's out of the inner cord of the paracord. The outer sheet, the mantle, that's actually very stretchy, very flexible, and pretty much useless as a bowstring. So when you're making a decent bowstring out of paracord, you just want the inner fibers, right? The kern, is that right? Anyway, the inner fibers. At some point, if you're trying to make a bowstring out of paracord, at some point you're going to have to join them. Well, not necessarily. If you want to waste a lot of paracord, you can definitely just cut off a huge length and strip all the outer layer of it off, and then as long as you've done enough of it, you won't have to do the joints. But if you just want to cut a shorter piece and just join them together, at some point you'll end up with something like that. Now that's just a fisherman's bend, and it was actually kind of tricky to do because it's so tiny, but I did it, and it's very strong. It doesn't slip, so that would make a good knot for joining pieces of cordage that are not quite long enough to make the bowstring in one piece. Now, when the bowstring is made, most of this extra stuff, is just going to get twisted and folded and locked away. You're not even going to see it, so don't worry about that. But anyway, what I have to work with today is long lengths of polyester bowstring material. Okay, now I finally get to building the string. My first part of doing that is going to be just running the fibre, tiny bits of polyester or Dacron, and just running it around. I'm going to want, because this is a fairly strong feeling bow, it is I'm going to go with 18 strands of this, and hopefully they'll give me the thickness I desire or the strength I desire. And something about bowstrings, it's really important, or at least very desirable, to have the minimum thickness you can for the strength that you require. And that's why things like Dacron and polyester are so popular for making bowstrings. So you can make a bowstring out of all sorts of stuff that may be less strong, but you're going to make it a lot thicker, and that's going to slow down the bow, so it's going to make the arrow go slower. And there's all sorts of problems with too thick of a bowstring, and that's something to consider. Anyway, now with the way I make the bow string, I'm going to want to leave extra bits laying here and there until the end. And I'm going to start off with this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to overlap about, would that be 6 to 8 inches from center. So I'm going to go 6 to 8 inches that way. I'm going to run around and I'm going to leave it 6 to 8 inches that way after I've done 18 strands. Okay. And all we're going to do for now is just tape it down with some electrical tape. Just hold it there. If I could use anything, I could tie it. Alright. I'll go around and count my 18. See, I've got that. It was 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. Alright, confused here. That should come up there. So, go 1/2 one, then come back this way. 19 strands. And once again, I'm going to go beyond halfway. I'm just going to tape it down. Alright. I am ready to start making the string. My bolt's real tight. Should seem to be. So I've got the basic fibres laid out and I'm ready to start making the string. So I'm going to zoom in a bit for that. So I'm going to start in the absolute center of the string. I'm going to do 2 windings and then I'm going to switch it around and finish up the bowstring from there. But I'm going to start, so I'm going to start here, do the windings, they're going to be moved to the outside and they're going to be the actual knock protector windings, if that makes sense. Okay, just a quick note, I somehow managed to go over on my, I was trying to get 9 each side, 9 threads each side, 20 sorry, 18 total. I'm going to end up with 10 each side, which is 20 total. And both of these ends, my start position, my end, they're both going to be over on this side, and that's going to make an even 10 threads each. That's not a problem. It's actually a really good thing. Just gives me a little bit of extra strength in the bowstring. Makes it a little bit thicker. Yeah, it's not going to make a big deal. So that's good. I just wanted to point that out because I got a little confused as I was running around with the start and the end and stuff like that. But it's all going to work out fine. Okay, I wish I had something a bit fancier to show you, but all I got is a temporary spool of bow material, polyester thread, and took it temporarily wrapped onto a piece of it's actually willow. So, and that's what I'm going to use for most of this bowstring making. Now I'm going to want to, these two ends, I'm going to want to get them secured somehow. Let's start with this one. Don't need that getting in the way. So I'm just going to secure that well beyond the halfway mark. Alright. Once again, I'm just using tape. Nothing to say you couldn't use other things. I'm going to do the same with this one. Let me cut that off first, because I don't need this huge spool of string anymore. So just cut that off. I'm going to join this on somewhere. Once again, well beyond the halfway mark is right there. So I want to go beyond the halfway mark. I can always trim it up later, but it's going to be awfully difficult to add extra. Okay, just taped on, and then I am ready to start. Wait a minute. Oh, I made a mistake. Imagine that. This one has to go on this side. So the way I ran it out, it needs to go on the same side as my starting side. No big deal. The only thing, if I didn't put it on the same side as my starting side, I'd have a thread crossing over, which would cause problems later on. But that's good now. I'm ready to start winding the string. So I've got a couple of spacers that I'll use. Let's put that one over here, just for giggles. Put this one over here. That's just to give me a bit more room to work with. It would be nice if I had a little bit better rig where I could actually hold those things firmly as I was wrapping them, but I can do that with my hands. So I'm going to start, center point is right there. So I'm going to start 2 inches off center, and I'm going to work all the way through to 2 inches beyond center. I'm going to try and keep it tight. I'm going to have my starting thread is going to extend beyond. So I'm going to give myself about 6 inches extra there. Just going to come around and wrap. Now, as I'm wrapping this, I'm going to be wrapping up this extra thread as well, and it's going to make it very tight. it started. It'd be nice if I did this in another colour so you could see it better, but black's all I've got. And now, because I'm old, I need glasses. Anyway, so I'm going to keep going around. Find if I wrap that thread up, it's not going to keep getting in my road while I do this. Got about an inch done so far. I've still got 3 inches to go. Haven't quite got to centre mark. I'll put that for a minute while I'm going to go get something to hold that so it doesn't unspool. Okay, so I just got to finish winding this first piece of the bowstring. Just using the closed peg to hold it firm while I do other stuff. Yeah, if I need to hold it steady. Just keep wrapping around. Haven't quite got to the halfway mark yet. And when I move this section up to where the loops for the string are going to be, I'm going to actually add another layer as well, so it needs to be very strong right at the tips. I'm beyond halfway now, I'm still going. So a nice tight wrapping, very important. Nearly up to the end. So all in all, when this is finished, it should be about 4 inches long. It's, you know, I've got my center here, and the center should be in the middle of this wrapping. So that's about it. Now what I want to do, I just want to secure this. Use a peg for the moment. That'll hold it there until I get other stuff sorted out. Okay. Oh, and you missed most of that. That's terrible. Anyway, I just use a closed peg to, oh, here we go. I just use a closed peg to secure that. So hopefully you caught most of that. All I was doing was just wrapping my first wrapping of the bowstring, and those are going to be moved up to the loops at the tips of the bow. Okay, so I've done one side, I've wrapped it around, now I've got all these extra threads. They're secured now, they can't slip because I've got all this wrapping around there. But I'm going to, there's another one there. don't want to trim them off yet because I'm going to use them when I do the loop at the end of the bowstring. But I do want to just secure them just a little bit better. So I'm going to separate the bowstring, just using a needle, not a very sharp needle, just to open up the bowstring. And then the first one I'm going to do is the thread I was using to wrap that. Now, I could actually put this through the needle and use it like that, but I can also just open up the bowstring with the needle. Let me see if I can get that on the video, and then slide it through. I should be able to anyway. There we go. So it's got that like that. I got two other threads here that I'm going to do that with. Open up that a bit further. More there. So after I've got all those pulled through in that same one, I come back with my needle and I'm going to split the bowstring in a different axis. So I split it one way, then I split it another way, so that when I pull these threads through, they're kind of crossing over each other, and it'll make for a tighter join. Okay, and just one more time and I'll call this good. I'll be doing more of this when I actually work on the loops at the end of the bowstring. I'm going to do the other side here. Once again, I split my bowstring with the needle, then I can pry it open a bit if I need to, push the thread through, and then open it and then put it through on a different axis. That's good. Alright, now I'm ready to do the other side of the bowstring, which is actually going to be the other side loop. Okay, so now I've got my other side to do. Got my bobbin, run it across. Now, I've still got my marks here. That's the center line. These are my outer two marks. So that's how far I want to make this binding. I just noticed I'm actually a little bit off center with that first one, but it's not a big deal. It's all going to get fixed up when I finish the loop. Okay, main thing, keep this tight. I'm actually gripping the bowstring with my fingers so it doesn't twist around too much, taking out some of the flex in it as I wrap it. I think I've just reached the halfway mark. watching some guy wrap a bowstring. But anyway, if you're that backwards that this is the least bit interesting to you, you might watch. I guess there's no reason why the same basic, wrapping technique, bowstringing technique, bowstring making technique couldn't be used with compound bows as well. They may need to be made thicker possibly in the big curves, or maybe just going to make them for the weight that they're intended to be used at. So there we go, I finished wrapping that, and I'm just going to cut that with my knife. And then I'm going to split the string again with a blunt needle so I don't damage anything. This is a bit trickier, and we're going to do this. So, alright. I'll do one and the other. First one's always the hardest. There we go, there's that one, and this one. There we go. Alright, so that's the worst of it. Now, I'm going to do the same deal. I'm going to split the string again at a different axis, AXIS, so that I get a good binding of the string, I guess. It's almost like making a knot, but not quite. I do that a couple times, and that will hold together really well. There we go. And just one more. So different axis again. There's that one. Pull it through. And this one. Okay. That's done. Once again, I'm going to leave the thread on for now. I don't need to trim it yet because I'm going to use those threads at the loop. Alright, so now what I've got to do is to move these pieces, which are going to be part of the loop at the end of the bowstring. Just in case you're wondering what that is. Alright, so this is the bowstring, and that's going to be the loop. Alright, so what I'm making now is just this piece around here. So I made them in the middle of the jig. I now have to move them to the outside. Now, hopefully, I can just kind of turn this. It'd be nicer if I had in my jig, it'd be nicer if I had a little bit better bearing there, but this kind of works. So I'm just turning it around, and I'm moving this side and this side. That's going that way, this one's going this way. And I'm moving around so that they're on the end of the jig. I guess something else I could do with my jig anyway, I could loosen these and move it in and move it a lot easier. But I find it's better just to leave it in one piece if I can. Push it down, move it further around. Okay. Now I've got that side's good, that side's good. Come back a little bit more this way. So I've got that even, And this here is very even. Good. Right, I'm going to bring the camera over so you can see that a bit more. Would have been nicer if I could have done this with a different colour. So if I zoom in, that's about what there is. It'd be nicer if I could have done this with a different colour thread, but I've only got black. So that's that. I'm going to start by running around. Looking at that. So I'm going to come around here. I want to keep this tight. I'm just going to run around a few times. When I've got a few rounds around the string, I'm going to duck up into the loop area. Come down with the thread. I hope you can see that. Anyway, so I'm just kind of tying it off. Not with any really special knot. And I'm going to loop again. Come down through the loop, through the... Okay. And I'm going to wrap. Down a little bit further this time. I've got multiple other threads here to work with. And I'm actually going to wrap it, again with another separate piece of thread. So once again, I'm going to split the bowstring. I'm going to come down through that split with this thread. And I'm going to pull that tight. Alright, and that's actually probably all I need for right now, because I've got these other three pieces to wrap and use up, and then I'm going to do the same thing with them. Okay, so I've got two loops to make, one for each end of the bow, and I'm going to make them both in the same way, so I'm not going to bother showing you both sides. So, but basically, I've got this extra thread. I'm just trying to use it up, wrap it around. You know what, I probably could just trim most of it off, especially after I've got the main one done, but I'm going to wrap it around anyway. I don't mind it being a little thicker. There's another piece I'm going to wrap around. Split the bow string. Every time I split the bowstring to put the thread through, I want to do it on a different axis. So that part there is nearly done. I've got these two threads here. I'm just going to wrap them around a couple of times. Then put them through at a different axis. I'm going to put all four through together now. And maybe one more time. What the hell? Oops. That one didn't go through real good. There we go. Alright, so that's nice and tight now. I don't know if you can see that, but just a little bit left on the threads of those, but they're tight and wrapped up, and I've still got one more piece to wrap around there, and when I do that, it's going to take up most of this. Okay, so I'm going to pretty much wrap from here to here on the next wrapping. That's going to clean up most of those. I think I've got enough of my bobbin to do that, so might as well. Got a little bit of extra thread. I'm going to start from up here, around. Now I wonder if I can get up through here once or twice. Oh yeah, that worked. Okay. Once again, you want to keep this tight. I'm going to come down through on the other side of the loop. Get a good wrapping around that. And then I'm going to wrap around. All the way through. I wish I'd actually had this workbench set up just a little bit higher, because I'm bending over here and my back's getting sore. So I may have to take a break from wrapping. So the way I'm going to take a break is I'm going to tighten it up. I'm just going to put a closed peg there, and I can come back to it in a few minutes. Okay, time to finish off this loop. So I just took a break for a few minutes. Actually, I think it was more than an hour, but no matter. So I've got to finish twisting this around. It's kind of what I like about archery sometimes, in that it's you can step away from it and come back, and it's actually kind of relaxing to be working on your archery gear. My arrows, bows and strings, it's not a, it doesn't matter whether I finish this now or a week from now. Yeah, so even more than the actual archery and the shooting of the bows and arrows, I think I enjoy actually just making stuff, the ability to make something that's functional, or repair it. Doesn't much matter to me. So I've got through to where I want it, and I'm guessing that's about 3 inches. I'm going to cut this off here, and it's the same deal. I'm going to come down through the string that I've opened up with the blunt needle. I've got 2 threads here that I've got to do something with, so I might as well bring them both down. Okay, so pull it tight, pull it up like that, and then I'm going to come in on the opposite axis. Okay, so I just want to finish wrapping up these threads. So once again, I've split the bowstring with that blunt needle. So that's, you see, that's quite a blunt needle. Very handy for doing this. That way I don't actually cut through the threads. Every time I do this, I run the thread through on a different axis, at 90 degrees to the last time that I run the thread through. And now I'm just using up the thread, and I just keep splitting the bowstring and bringing those threads through. And every time I do that, 90 degrees, different axis. Looking about good on that. Guess if I wanted to, I could run it around a couple more times and then run it through again. String split all to there, but that works. Okay, so at some point there, I'm going to say that's good enough. I've doubled it through and basically made it kind of a knot. Now I'm just going to trim it off. I could probably trim it off a little bit better than that, but that's good enough. And we're going to wax it down, and that will help hold it together as well. So I've got this one done. I've showed you how to wrap the loop end of the bowstring. I'm going to go do the other end, and then I'm going to show you how to do the center wrapping. Okay, so I finished the knocking loops there and there. I burned off you see the little lighter there, I burned off any little threads of stuff that wasn't usable to me, and maybe I'll show you that when I finish the next section. The next section is actually doing the knocking area. So there's an area in the middle of the bowstring. Now hopefully you can see that. An area in the middle of the bowstring, which is where you actually knock the arrow. So in this here, this is a traditional traditional recurve string. It's got your knocking point right there, and you'll actually slide the arrow in underneath that, and that's how you knock it. But there's this area in the knocking area that is wrapped to protect the bowstring from damage. And this one here, it's probably 8 inches, so it's probably 8 inches all told, but I think I'm going to do about 6 on what I'm doing here. But anyway, so it's just wrapping the string to protect it from, when you release the arrow, there's a lot of forces and a lot of pressure built up on the string, and anything you can do to protect this string from damage as you're releasing is a good thing. So that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, so once again I'm going to start, instead of, so I've still got the center mark on this string. I've got a 2-inch mark. I'm going to start about 3 inches on one side, go through the center mark, and go about 3 inches the other side. And you'll see this string is now totally together. I'm going to start with a little bit of excess, like that. I'm going to wrap that up as I wrap the string. I always get started. This is the hardest bit. For a little bit, that will help my life. Once again, it's excuse me, important that you keep the string tight and the thread tight on the string. I wish I had a different colour just to make it more obvious. And I'm just wrapping the thread around the string, the tension on it, so I don't want it slipping. If it starts to slip, then it's not going to last very long. It's going to loosen up and it's going to come apart. So as I'm doing this, I'm twisting whatever I need to do to keep the tension on it. That means I'm going to have a good solid bowstring when this is finished. Got about an inch done so far. Once again, I'm leaning over and my back's getting a little tired, so I'm going to take a bit of a break. One or two more loops. And the way I take a break is I just use a peg and sit that there, and then I can go take a break from bending over, come back to it and finish off the rest of that. Let's see if I can finish this off. So I just took a break because I was getting tired of leaning over the workbench. It would be easier if I put this up a little bit higher, or maybe if I sat down, I'm not sure, but anyway, I took a break. Keep the tension on the thread as you're winding it round, because if you let it get loose, it'll come apart and you'll waste all your time. Well, I guess you can rebuild it. There's nothing to say you can't do this. The actual main part of the string is very sound no matter what now. It's pretty much one solid piece. So I'm not too worried about that. I think I'm at about 2 inches now. I want to get to about 6. Again, I wish this was a different colour. You just can't really see the difference or the beauty in it. And they're all the same colour, but I only have bought black thread. When I bought this, I thought it was Dacron, but it's polyester. But Dacron is a more traditional bowstring material. I'll have to find some one day and make a string from that. Beyond 3 inches now. I'm working up the last 2 or 3. After I've finished this part, I'll do the same that I did before. I'll just start threading back the thread and putting it through the bowstring. And every time I do that, I'll make sure it's on a different axis, so I get a good hold on the thread. Alright, I'm at about 4 inches now. I've got another 2 inches to go. terribly boring. You can fast forward through this if you need to. But I think that's part of being able to do things for yourself, make your own bowstrings, make your own arrows, and refletch them. That's what I like about it anyway. Back's getting sore. How close am I? I'm nearly there. I've got less than an inch to go, so. And yeah, just FYI, I've actually got marks on here so I can tell where I need to work to. Nearly there. Alright, I think I'm good. Take that off. I'm going to cut a piece off it. I'm holding the string tight and the thread that I've been working on. I'm going to come down with the blunt needle, and I'm going to start threading these threads through the string. There's the first one, and actually once you get the first one done, first one or two, it gets a lot easier. Alright, there we go, there's the second one. Now I can just sort of pull that back, and that's tight, that's not going to go anywhere now. And then I just keep, like the next one I do, it's at 90 degrees, axis to the original one. If I need to open up the thread, I can open up the bowstring, I can do. And I just put these threads down through it. There's another one. Right. My back's getting sore, so I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to show you how to finish that off. Alright, finish off this string. So I have a couple threads left, and I'm just going to keep splitting the bowstring with my blunt needle and feeding the threads down through it at 90 degrees to the last time I did it. So I change axis every time. And actually, I don't even mind that one there. I've only got a couple of pieces of string. It's not really truly in the middle. It doesn't worry me. I'm going to put that down through there. In fact, it's probably a good thing. And alright, when I've got that to where I want it, what I'm going to do is quick hit with the lighter. I do not want to put any heat on the string. Alright, I just want to kind of melt off these ends. And that's actually how I finished off all the loops on the far end as well. Okay. And that little melted piece of plastic there should prevent it coming apart. Any pieces that I see there's a thread of string coming out that just looks bad, I just burn it off. It's all good. So what I've got to do now, I've got to fit the knocking point on the string. Well, actually I'm going to test the string to make sure it's the right size for the bow. But once I've done that, I'm going to check fit the knocking point. So, to pull this off, I don't think, I could use my handy dandy 9/16 spanner. I'm going to double check you can even see that. Nope, you cannot see it. I'll zoom back out a little bit. Probably just slide the string up. Oh, there we go. Oh, still pretty tight. Let's try this side as well. There we go. So I managed to just slide it off, and now I have a ready to go bowstring. Now I'll go string it. Whether you use a square or just eyeball it for your traditional bow, you're going to want to put a knocking point on. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a brass, it's actually got a plastic inner piece to it, but it's a brass outside piece, and that just slides onto the bowstring. Main thing you want to remember for traditional archery, you want that knocking point to be above the knock, right? And you want it to be at about 90 degrees. Well, you want it to be at 90 degrees. I'm using a square here to get a better gauge of what 90 degrees is, but I have in the past just eyeballed it. So once you've got that on, all you need to do is just crimp it on, and it is ready to go. And you can crimp it on with all sorts of things. These pliers, I got some, Husky. Alright, so I'm just going to crimp. I've got it where I need it. The knocking point, and I'm just going to crimp that off. There we go. And that should not move. Now, if you don't have the brass plastic knocking point, you can actually just wrap string twine around the string, and just keep doing that, and then finish it off. I normally just use a bit of glue. Anyway, just want to make a bit of a lump on the string that you can fit the knock of the arrow in underneath. Okay, which is that there, and then you'll slide it up, and then that arrow is then ready to shoot. Okay, knocking point, knock, string, grip, and that is a ready to shoot arrow. Just zoom out, but that bow actually and string turned out really well. I like the distance on that. It's not too short, not too long. I made a good bowstring. I'm happy. Yay!